Hi folks, this is Double Krown, and today I want to talk about DNA and creation and evolution. So if you take a look at this slide here, what I'm trying to show you here is the Cambrian Explosion. Now this event is significant because if you look at this, the Cambrian Explosion produces a lot of the major life forms. For example, jellyfish, we've got worms, mollusks, arachnids, crustaceans, arthropods, etc. And before that, there's very little. They're saying that corals existed before. They're saying sponges and fungi and bacteria, etc., might have existed before that. But you can literally see here the Cambrian Explosion. This creates the bulk of life here that we see on the Earth today. And this is one single event here, spanning a period of time. Basically, we've got all kinds of life being formed, and we've got the major organs being formed. For example, arachnids have eyes, and a lot of these, crustaceans, they have limbs. I think trilobites are included in this as well, and they of course have eyes, and some of these arachnids have limbs, legs, arms, what have you. So these creatures are fully formed. There's no sense of evolution occurring here. This is actually described as an explosion, the Cambrian Explosion. So this theory that we're taught, evolution, is this another big lie that we're told? And what we see on the internet as well, I've noticed recently on social media, on YouTube, is we get an awful lot of atheists. I think it started with Richard Dawkins, and Christopher Hitchin is another one. Now, Richard Dawkins has written a number of books. He's written The Selfish Gene, The God Delusion, The Blind Watchmaker. He's written a number of books all promoting this idea of evolution. Now, he comes from a biology background, so he doesn't understand other sciences like physics, and he makes it quite clear that he doesn't understand, for example, quantum mechanics and quantum physics. He probably doesn't understand relativity. He doesn't understand physics and mathematics. What he understands is biological. If you listen to these kind of people like Dawkins, they will try and persuade you that you are an idiot if you don't believe in evolution. Now, I want to talk about why I think evolution is completely false, a red herring, yet another lie being promoted. So let's talk about to talk about evolution being a lie. I think we need to talk about DNA. Now, DNA. Actually, I've got another slide here, which probably be better if we look at this. DNA. This is what we're looking at here. We have these bases, cytosine, guanine, adenine, thymine. Now, these four bases create this kind of structure. It's called a helix, and you have sugar and you have phosphates as well, and basically these bases attach to each other, so you get base pairs being attached to each other. And you'll notice the colors here, so the colors are very important. So green, for example, attaches to blue, so we have green here signified by guanine attaching to blue, which is signified by cytosine. So if we look further down, again here green attaches to blue, again here green and blue attaches together, and similarly here we have orange or yellow for adenine attaching to red, which is thymine. And if you look, you always get these combinations of base pairs. Anyway, this helix can actually split open in this fashion, And what you often get is something attached to this ribbon here, and it will spiral along this ribbon, and it will actually read these different bases. And by reading these different bases, it's almost like computer code, it's almost like ticker tape. You're actually reading code as you go down, as you spiral down, and what you get is a protein or something attached to this ribbon, and it will spiral down and it will read these bases. Now this, on this side we have DNA, but you also get something called RNA, and RNA is pretty much almost very similar to DNA, and again we have cytosine, guanine, adenine, but this time instead of thymine we have uracil. So let's have a little study of how DNA works. Now we've talked about these. Let's keep that visible, at least partially visible here. The 4 different bases here. So these 4 different bases, if you put 3 of them together, for example, you can have A, which is adenine, A, and A. So a combination of 3 of these actually produces what we call an amino, not an amino, it produces, yeah, I think it produces an amino acid. And a chain of amino acids creates a protein. So AAA, for example, let me just look it up in my book, and what do we get for AAA? It produces something called LYS, or lysine. Yeah. So what we can have is all sorts of different combinations of these four bases. Now just imagine all the different combinations you can have. So we've got AAA, but you can also have C. You could also have G. You can also have T. Okay, and that's and these bases in combination like this produce different amino acids, and in total we have 20 amino acids, and the number of combinations you can actually have is you can have 64 different combinations, but those 64 combinations only produce 20 amino acids. So what's happening is some of these combinations actually end up producing the same amino acids. So let me just have a look up at what some of these produce. For example, AAC, for example, the next one here, let me look this one up, produces something called ASN. And let's see if we can find one that actually produces the same amino acids. So AAG, for example, will produce LYS again. So there we go. So we've got AAA there producing lysine, and AAG also produces lysine. So, and that's why we only get, despite having 64 different combinations, these 64 different 3-letter combinations, we only produce 20 amino acids. Now, these amino acids, as I say, when you combine them together, if you combine a whole bunch of amino acids together, you produce a protein. But the interesting thing to note about DNA is that there's one 3-letter combination which is particularly interesting, and that is T, A, and G, because this does not spell any kind of amino acid. This is what is called a stop codon. So that is like a full stop. So what we have here with DNA and what we have here with RNA is we have something here that is actually operating like some kind of computer language. This is like a full stop. And don't tell me, TAG spells tag, which is the stop codon. Don't tell me that that's a coincidence. Is that some kind of synchronicity? TAG spells stop in DNA language. And then if we carry on, if we do TGA, which is just a combination of, which is just tag, again, wrongly spelt, that also is a stop codon. And also, if we do T, A, and A, they all begin with T, you'll notice. That is also a stop codon. So any kind of misspelling, well, not any kind, but these are all stop codons. So DNA is actually some kind of computer language. This again is proof evolution can't be right. This is, somebody has programmed this. A superior force, a superior being has actually programmed and coded all of this. And it just goes on. It just goes on and on. So we have 64 combinations of 3 letters. There's 64 combinations, but those 64 combinations only produce 20 amino acids. Yeah? Only 20 amino acids. And those 20, it's like the the alphabet, if you like. Now, if you look at the alphabet, ABC, we have 26 letters in the alphabet, 26 letters in the alphabet, but we have 20 amino acids. And those 20, so various combinations of those amino acids spell words, or they spell, we have 26 letters in the alphabet. And what do those letters spell? They spell words. But in DNA language, we have 20 amino acids, and they spell proteins. Sorry about my spelling here. So this is clear proof that DNA, RNA is a language, and this is like computer code. This has been written. It even has a full stop in it, in the language. This is just unbelievable. And if you do if you do more research into this, I've recently discovered, for example, here we've got AAA, which is this amino acid, lysine, and we also have AAG, which is also the same amino acid, lysine. So you think there's a bit of redundancy there, but I've just recently discovered this article here which explains, we've got this 64 letter alphabet of codons, but we have something called duons, and this has major implications because these duons have a dual function. So you can produce an amino acid, and it can behave differently depending on how it's actually structured. So the language has a duality about it, a level of complexity that we perhaps don't understand. DNA might actually consist of maybe 2 or even 3 languages embedded into one language. So you know, the whole idea of evolution, I believe, is a complete hoax, and I think that the DNA as we understand it, is the proof of that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.